Look, it's moving. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's moving. It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Oh, in the name of God. Now I know what it feels like to be God. Oh.
It's alive. Alive! Oh crap, the camera's on. Hey guys, it's Overlord here, back again with another review. And today, I'm going to be taking a look at the NECA Toys Universal Monsters Ultimate Frankenstein. This is the black and white, quote-unquote, variant of Frankenstein. This was actually the first one solicited and the first one that went up for pre-order, to my understanding. I believe the colored version of this was a Walmart first to market exclusive deal, but now that's starting to pop up at places like Target and online retailers, etc. So yeah, that's cool, I guess. So you can pick your poison when it comes to this guy. A little disclaimer though, this is not my figure. This belongs to Mr. Brian, aka my dad, who was cool enough to let me review this. And that makes sense because of course my dad would buy an action figure of himself, right? Okay, my dad doesn't look like Frankenstein. He just kind of acts like him, especially when he's grumpy. Jokes aside, I really dig this figure quite a bit. And for those of you smartasses who keep commenting on my Mego Frankenstein videos, yes, I know that Frankenstein is the name of the doctor, not the monster. Are you happy?
You cocksucker! You don't give a shit, and I've been sitting around getting sick of your attitude! You fucker! You fucking bitch!
Back to the review at hand, though. This is a really cool figure. And as far as his accessories go, they are in the plastic trays, so my apologies in advance for that. But this is not my figure. Again. So I'm not going to take anything out of the package that isn't already out of the package because I don't want to mess anything up. But you can see pretty well, I think, the different things this figure comes with. He's got an alternate head there. He's got an alternate head there. He's got some alternate hands down here where my thumb is. And then he's got some flowers and some handcuffs, kinky, there. And because my dad is a psycho, he's got the twist ties in here. I mean, to each their own, I guess. Oh, that's interesting. This is something to note. Usually NECA figures have like the feet going through the cellophane and the plastic trays. This guy does not have that. His feet literally just sit in the cellophane. That's interesting. There's usually some holes punched out. But now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at Mr. Boris Karloff as the Frankenstein monster. You would think this is 13 days of Halloween. Well, it's not, but Halloween comes early here because it's Halloween. It's awesome. So, I would say that's a really solid likeness, wouldn't you? Looks just like him. And I guess if anything, if you wanted to pick this one up and put it with the colored versions of the Universal Monsters that NECA is going to be putting out, you could just say this is a more dead, more pale looking Frankenstein because his skin has just the slightest green tint to it on the colored release, so that's kind of cool. I will have a more in-depth review when I get my hands on that figure because it will be mine. But until then, I'll give you what I can with this one. So articulation on this guy, his neck and head are on double ball pegs that move all around. You can look down pretty far, up pretty far. you can pop the noggin off pretty easy. That's not hard to do. You can see he's got the bolts on his neck there and some schmutz on the double ball peg, so tell Dad about that. Maybe he'll shave it off or something. The shoulders go out to the side pretty far. If you're familiar with their other horror figures like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees or the Michael Myers that they do, this is basically more of that with some slight updates. But the shoulders do have quite a bit of range to them, so that's nice. And they look very clean. When you raise the arm up, he doesn't have like the bean lump in the armpit that some figures have when they have a joint like that. He does have a single joint at the elbow with rotation that works pretty good. He's got a swivel at the wrist as well as a hinge, and if you're curious how easy it is to pop the hands out, it is fairly easy. So there you go. There you go. And they just plug right back in. But they all have a hinge and a swivel. I don't know if the grip hand for the flowers has an up and down hinge. I didn't check that, but I assume it either does or doesn't, so it's whatever. I wouldn't be using that hand anyway, so it's not that big a deal to me. The torso has a couple of joints that do work in it. So he can crunch forward and back. He can rotate and tilt a little bit. But he's Frankenstein. He's not going to be doing martial arts, so you don't need all the articulation in the world so he can do the Marilyn Manson and you know what. His hips are squeaky, but they do move forward and back. Be careful, you don't want to tear the diaper underneath, but it is hidden by the shirt, so if you do, it's not the end of the world. Just don't tear it on the bottom here. But his hips do squeak a bit. I don't think that's going to be a problem. After a while, I feel like after you move this guy enough, that's going to stop happening, so it's whatever. Maybe you need some oil down there. But he does have a thigh cut, and his hips do kick out to the side about that far. That gives you any idea. There. Not too bad. Better than some Spider-Man figures, I'll say. He's got a single joint at the knee, which gives you about 90 degrees, as well as a swivel. Just got to straighten that out. The only NECA figure I've reviewed on this channel in a hot minute, I think, is the King Kong. Now this leg, I don't feel like it's straightening out all the way, but I could be wrong, so let me know in the comments on that one if that is straight all the way like the other side or not. So if not, maybe some heat is going to be required to get that to straighten out. It does not feel like that is going to move anymore, but it's as straight as I can get it. He does have a hinge in the foot with a rocker joint and peg holes at the bottom of the feet. This foot's a little tighter, but it does move, and since it's been in my sauna of a room, it has loosened up ever so slightly. So yeah, really cool looking figure, man. I dig it. Looks like Boris Karloff, Frankenstein monster, or for those of you who are more of a fan of the anti-Halloween Christmas, the Grinch. The original Grinch, not the Jim Carrey one. I don't mind the Jim Carrey Grinch, but I know some people don't like it. But you can't beat the classics, man. Sometimes less is more. Getting him back up here. It's kind of hard to see where my timestamp is. I don't know why that is. Weird. Hope this thing is recording. I'd be really embarrassed if it wasn't. So with that being said, now that we've gotten him all straightened out, at least as much as we can, let's take a look at some comparisons. First up, here is the Frankenstein monster, next to a couple of Marvel Legends, because I don't have my Toy Island Frankenstein's handy. Granted, we all know he'd be shorter than the 14-inch monster that I have, but I was curious how he scaled with the more basic Toy Island Frankenstein figure that came with a bath piece to build said giant monster. So, we're going to roll with this, that, and I would really like to see a Marvel Legends Frankenstein eventually. Just saying. I know Toy Biz did one, but I'd like an update. But for those of you curious, here he is next to Rogue and Gambit. These are the Target exclusive versions that came on the X-Men Retro card. And since Frankenstein is supposed to be bigger, I guess you could fudge him in your Legends if you wanted to. Personally, I think he's a little too big. And if Frankenstein's going to be this big, he better be packing some serious guns. You know what I'm saying? Up next for your DC Multiverse comparison, here is Frankenstein monster next to the Batman Beyond figures I currently have from the Target exclusive collect-to-build Joker bot wave. We got Batman Beyond and Shriek. And I think Frankenstein is a little bit more in scale here. I believe these are supposed to be in the 7-inch scale, which is, of course, what NECA mostly does. So this makes all the more sense. But, again, there is a Frankenstein in DC Comics. I want to see McFarlane Toys make one, because like the Marvel one, he packs some serious guns. And last, but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus and the Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. And it just occurred to me that literally everything I compared this Frankenstein to, except for the two regulars here, were all Target exclusives. And if Spawn had an axe, he would be another Target exclusive. So, yeah, that's kind of a problem. But with that being said, time to wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, while I do really like this version of NECA's Frankenstein, I'm going to save my judgment until I get the colored version, just because, in my opinion, that one's a little bit more versatile. Because while the black and white look is really cool, I think the colored look, again, it's more versatile. And if you really wanted to do black and white with that, you could just put on a filter. So this saves you one extra step when photo editing, but is that step really that hard? It's questionable. But if you are into the black and white look for Frankenstein, it actually isn't too far of a stretch from the colored version. I'd say the only difference, really, as far as I can tell from pictures online, the colored version has a slight green tint to it. Other than that, everything that's, clothes or whatnot is pretty much the same. So with Frankenstein, I think you could get away with buying either or. If you buy the black and white one, you could just say it's a more pale or dead looking version of Frankenstein's monster. So with that said, I would recommend this to the right person. I would probably recommend the colored version more, just because if you're a toy photographer like myself, you're going to be able to do a lot more with that. But this is, for the price point, a really solid figure. And had I had it for my top 10 figures of the year so far video, might have actually made it in there. It's a really fun figure. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. Gotta show that algorithm who's boss, right? And special shout out to Mr. Brian, aka my dad, for letting me borrow this figure to review for you guys, because I haven't seen any real reviews of this version of this figure yet. So that's pretty cool, I guess. But if you haven't already, hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of this guy, whether you want it, love it, or hate it. Which version do you want to pick up of this guy? I still want the colored version even after messing with this one. Again, it's just more versatile, man. I'm okay with adding a filter. It's no skin off my nose. But remember, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.